haven't really done any Bourke Street videos because one of the 2 videos that I got taken down was in relation to Bourke Street, but I didn't show any footage from it. I showed footage from another totally different story where a guy was about to stomp on someone's head, and he's up in the air, and they don't show him being stomped on, they just show him in that position. And I just asked the question, if they'll show this, why don't they show one of the cars, or the car about to hit one of the victims? But it got taken down. So I figured they were very, very touchy about this one. They weren't tolerating anything about Bourke Street. So I haven't really done too much, and look, with good reason, which I'm about to get to in a minute. But as my channel is through forces beyond my control, is dwindling, it's shriveling up. I don't really care too much. So if my channel gets taken down, you know, so be it. But I'm going to put these videos up anyway. Now, this was a huge hoax that they put together. This was their big one. And look, they're still using it for incremental laws that they just keep putting in. Oh, we're putting in bylaws for terror. Well, hang on, wasn't that like nearly 2 years ago? Yeah, but we're still referencing back to that. So this was their biggie. You know, Minto was just for indefinite detention. They called that Australia's 9/11. That was just one guy running around. That was easy to do with some blood packs. Whereas this was an extravaganza. It was a long time in the planning. They plucked Jimmy from Coober Pedy. And one of the Adelaide papers, who probably weren't fully in on all of this, they went out to Coober Pedy and interviewed some people, and they reported that people in Coober Pedy had said, oh yeah, there were some people getting around, and at one point Jimmy was in a limo, so out in Coober Pedy. And I had a look at his place, the property that he lived on, and yeah, it's just a dusty road. So there was some stuff going on out there in preparation for this operation. How they pulled this off with this many people, because there was like a huge cast of characters in this, was they used a certain company in Melbourne who work with police and have actually conducted drills with police along the lines of what this was. That organisation, their head office was like Central Command. That's where everything was coordinated from, and it's what they do, and they're experts at it. So they had their people in place, of course, and they also had the police as well. So that's how come they had so many people involved, and that's why it was such a big payday at the end, because I did a video, if you can go back and find it, where I showed the Victorian government had a special fund rather than just victims of traffic accident funds, which, you know, if you've got a broken leg, you're lucky to medical things cost. With this, they just opened the checkbook, and that was to cover this company and all of the people that were involved and all of the so-called witnesses. They said anyone that was traumatized, you know, you can rock up, and that was to cover all the people that were involved. And they did get some very specific people that were also involved, that also cleaned up as well. For all their planning and all their resources that they threw at this thing, something went wrong with it, and that's where the point at which I'm going to start this video. At this point here, everything was on schedule. Everything was going according to plan. Jimmy had checked in at the Channel 9 Today Show check-in point where he drove past behind the reporter. The helicopters were following him, and then he got to this point and he was doing his donuts and putting on the big show, which is what he was what was meant to do. But then something happens at this point here. Here they come into the scene. Now, this was not part of the script. And you know it wasn't part of the script because, firstly, they've approached the car and put themselves in danger. And there was no real need for these guys. They didn't need a hero story here. They had a hero story all ready to go with Lou the cabbie. So these guys were not meant to be part of this script. And what it does is it triggers a lot of movement, and a lot of people who would have remained totally innocuous. You wouldn't have even known they were there. That just would have thought they were part of the crowd. They had to then come out and act upon this. And it was at this point here that things went wrong. Straight away, these 3 people spring into action. The guy in the hoodie on the left, the little blonde hottie in the middle, and this other guy that had come, he'd seen this developing. He actually walked to that position, not looking at Jimmy, but looking over where those guys had come from. So he sensed something wasn't quite right. Now, what should have happened, there was plenty of police there on the corner, and you can see them a bit later on. There were plenty of police, and there were police in those cars. At that point, Why? The question is asked, why would three supposedly civilians, just random people in and around Flinders Street Station during this, this terrible scene of, doing a donut and breaking the law, why didn't the police step in? Why didn't the police, at this point in time, either step out, try to direct him, either bring those cars out, because the public safety was now compromised. But the police, they know their role and they know who else is there. So that's why it was left up to these people who probably work for, I'll just give his initials, AB. So it's not Alan Border. So that sort of proves it's a hoax, obviously, and proves that these guys weren't part of the script. Watch this guy here, the hoodie guy, walks over, and the baseball bat gets thrown, well, in his direction. And if we have a look at it from the other side, you can see there he's winding up. Now, the car's right there, so he's probably throwing it at Jimmy Gargasaurus, and either bounces off the car or he's just a bad shot, and it lands near the guy with the hoodie. So why weren't cops now swarming from everywhere to break up this now dangerous scene of a car, guys with baseball bats? Nowhere to be seen. Look, of course, it was pretty obvious even when you first viewed this, but you could pretty much see who was involved and who wasn't. And what defined them was they were close to Jimmy. They were between the general public and Jimmy, controlling the situation. You could see the guy with the red shirt and the blue jeans. I'll get to him in a second. And you can also see the hoodie guy. Now, as he heads over, if you watch him, he goes really close to Jimmy's car. Now, Jimmy's doing donuts. He doesn't know supposedly wouldn't know if he was genuine, wouldn't know his mental state. And yet, here he is, just not a problem. And this white Falcon took off as well at that same time. I'm pretty sure that was a signal car, because they wouldn't have let a car just go across the intersection that they were controlling. So that's how you can tell who was involved and who wasn't. So we just continue on. So there's the random bystander sprinting to pick up the bat. He really wants that bat. He really needs to control this situation, because at this point in time, it was getting out of hand. Now, just want you to note where the guy with the red top and blue jeans is standing. Now, he wasn't meant to stand there. He was meant to be back at the other intersection at his post, making sure nothing like those guys running out with baseball bats would happen. But you can see he's left his post. So that's what happens to, look what happens to this poor bastard. As you can see, he was on that centre island, and now he's straight back over to the corner where he was meant to be. He shouldn't have left his post. And you can see the guy with the hoodie has a quick word to him, and he races back. So here he is, back at his post. But that wasn't it for him, though. He gets in the shit a bit more, because a bit later on, Blondie storms over and starts giving it to him. And look at this conversation taking place. What are they? They having a domestic? Do they know each other? Oh, you did the dishwasher again last night. Now it's your turn. No, she's berating him for leaving his post. I think she's a bit higher up the command structure than what this doofus is. So he's copping it. So at this point in time, they've all come out of the woodwork. Emotions are just sky high. They're trying to contain the situation. Oh, it's funny. So just watch this guy meander across. He's the hoodie guy. He's got the baseball bat with him and secured. And now he doesn't give it back, obviously. And because I needed to shut that down. Now, here's this girl here. She's now radioing to Central Command. And what this would have done, this would have thrown their timing out. And I'll get to that in a bit later on as to the ramifications of that. But that's why she's on the phone urgently, scrambling to speed this thing up and have people further along the hoax pathway, the journey, the trip, ready at the exact time that they needed to be. Now, here's where they've triggered the end of the scene. Now, this happened earlier than what they intended. And we know that because if you have a look at this woman, watch what she does. She's meant to be with this group. Now, if she was just crossing the street normally, the script had her with that group of people that were in front of her. And as you can see, she will run to catch up with them. And that sort of shows that she wasn't quite in position and this scene had ended early. There's one of the cops. There's a few cops around. not worried about doing anything, leaving it up to hot blonde chicks and guys with red shirts and hoodies to run around and try and take control of this situation. But these cops, it would be on a need-to-know basis. He would have just been briefed. He looks pretty junior. Just turn up here. There's going to be a car doing donuts. Don't get involved. We know what we're doing. It's all sorted. Don't ask any questions. And look, he wouldn't. He wants to get promoted. He's just going to sit there and not get involved and just do his job. And also on his mind would have been being part of the 1,000 cops that were traumatised that got a big compo payout for being mentally anguished by this situation. So he would have had that money in mind anyway. They would have said to him, look, there's a bit of extra cash in your pay. So just go to the intersection, make sure the public doesn't go anywhere near this car, and then go and collect. And look, that's what he's done. Last lap, the cops are there, ready to go. Jimmy knows on. There they are in the background. The blondie hot over the dishwasher. Do you want her to stack it tonight? Yeah, righto. And off goes Jimmy. So I'll just finish off this part of the story just from this camera angle. Hoodie guy before all hell broke loose with those guys with the bats, and he's doing his job exactly as planned, acting a bit nuts, acting a bit random, making out like he's just there, but he's making sure he's between the public and Jimmy, something the other guy in the red shirt on the other side didn't do. Jumped ahead to where the guys have just gone at Jimmy with the baseball bat. You can see here, they throw it, he jumps out of the way. You can see little hottie off over there, waves to the guy in the white jacket. Show that a bit later on in the next video. And she's off to berate the guy in the red shirt. She's giving it to him right now. And here's Jimmy on his last lap. The cops have come out. Yep, go down there. Come on, Jimmy. I know we're a bit early, but there's a guy with the blue. He's giving instructions. Here's a guy with the without the shirt. He featured about 3 weeks earlier when they were removing them. And here comes Hottie up to now. He's got the baseball bat. Now I'm just going to freeze it here. If you have a look there, you can see some looks like affiliates of the original guy with the baseball bat who hit Jimmy's car and threw it. They've come to retrieve the bat. And there was audio in another video that right at this point in time, someone says from across the street, oh, look, they're going to start punching on over there now, looking in this direction. So I'm pretty sure this got a bit heated. They wanted that bat back, which is because it's been confiscated by these guys, that are running this op. So I think it got a bit testy. And anyway, eventually they would have, got the bat back and things explained to them. And those two guys ended up doing a bit of a hero story. Or that Lou was actually the hero of the moment. He was the emotional heartstrings tugging at everyone's heartstrings there. These guys didn't. They reckon that they were going from church to a baseball game, which is why they had the baseball bat. Yeah. Looking at them, they look pretty churchy to me. Look like they just been to church. Baseball caps on backwards. They did a big gag with the baseball bat. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. But anyway, back to just quickly. These guys with the baseball bats, they were critical and crucial in changing what happens a bit later on, because the timing for setting up the scene, particularly on Bourke Street, that had to be exact because they couldn't start laying people on the ground. They couldn't have prams and start wheeling them out. And as you can see in some of the other videos that have since been deleted, but there were some pretty good ones where people were moving shoes from one location to another. So timing was everything, and they weren't ready for Jimmy to get there that early. And that's when things really change. So I will get on to that in the next video. So that's it for this one. Again, these guys with a baseball bat, they weren't part of it. They changed everything. They changed the timeline for this op and really stuffed it up for the organisers. And like I said before, really drew all these people out that were meant to just remain incognito, all come running out and they're talking to each other, and I'll do a video on that next. So, all right, that's it for this one.